Uh, Assalamualaikum and good day. So, previously we have discussed about the job activities and how to come up with job activities. So, we have two methods. Number one is beginning to end, where you plan your project from the start of the work until to the final inspection. And another method is to use down planning or work breakdown structure. So what we do is we come up with a major component first, and then later on we detail out for each major component such as this, and we can further detail out for each major sub major component into more detailed activities. So this is a complete work breakdown structure for procurement, field mobilization, and fire foundation activities. So what we want to discuss in this video is on the precedence diagram. So precedence diagram concentrate on the job logic. So based on the sequence of the job. So methods of activity times and resource conflicts will be considered in detail later during project scheduling. So each activity in the network must be preceded either by start of the project or by the completion of the previous activity. So all activity must have at least one activity that follows, except activity that terminates the project, which usually the handover inspection, final inspection work. So precedence diagram start with single opening activity, must start with single opening activities and conclude with a single closing activity. So start project and final or handing over. And it has a unique numbering. So as you can see here, we have a single starting activity and single finishing activity, and each job has a unique numbering system. Like this one is start with 0, activity 0, and this one is named as activity 10, 20, 30, 40. So the numbering is quite unique. It doesn't use 1, 2, 3, but you use 10, 20, 30, and then 50, 60, 70, and so on. So precedence diagram should be in horizontal format. Dependency lines that go backward from one activity to another should not be used. There is no backward line, so the line should be forward only. And some practitioners favor starting job planning by compiling a relatively short list of major project operations arranged in chronological order. So some may prefer to compile first a short list of major projects. For example, construction of highway bridge, the initial list is the major component. This is the short list, initial short list, and then can further detail out all the list of job. I need to remind you about the resource restraint. So when such restraint, in job typically you have a resource restraint. So resource could be limited. So this type of limitation hinders your dictate your uh, job logic. So when such restraints have been firmly established, when you have defined the restraints, it is advisable to include them in the first draft. So the first draft should include the restraints because they can be significant planning factors that have a major effect on the project plan and schedule. Next, let's discuss about network interface. So overall, the precedence diagram look like this. Network interfaces refers to dependency. It's a relationship dependency between activities of between two different networks. So this dependency can be indicated on the networks by dash sequence lines between the affected activities. So let's say in this example, you have start here, and then finish here. So the work is excavation, starting with excavation, then goes into anchor number one, then the footing and so on, up until you complete hang up and pipe racks and braces and guys. So you want to set pipe. So in order to set pipe, you also need to lay pipe. This is from another network of activity. So if it is from a different networks, so the line should be dash line like this. Next, let's discuss about master network. A master planning network would be prepared that encompasses and includes every sub-project. So a master planning network should include each sub-project. So the level of detail of this diagram will be relatively close because you cannot put into detail so much detail in master network because the network will become too complicated and too big. So you cannot really utilize the network for your planning work. So the master job plan concerns itself essentially with the big picture and the broad aspect of the major job segments. So you should consider only major job segments. So for example, if it is a piling work, then it is a piling of abutment only. You don't have to detail it out until setting out of pile and then mobilization of the machinery. So you need to be on the surface only because it involves a lot of activities. Keeping the master network free of excessive details. As I said earlier, you need to be free of excessive details uh, so that it can be comprehended and implemented for the project team. So that is the master network. Next, we take a look at subnetworks. Subnetwork is a more detailed planning diagram. So it is more detailed. You can break it out into a smaller section of your job project. So all-inclusive network, which is mentioned in the diagram, will be so large and cumbersome, too many details to be virtually useless. So it becomes useless to anyone in the project team because too big, and most of the section doesn't involve a certain part of people. So because operation personnel would like to know only the job that they need to carry out. So the detailed planning of an extensive construction contract is accomplished primarily through medium of many sub-networks. So you can usually they break down into a smaller networks of precedence diagram. Example, it is so mobilization here. You can see a mobilization of pile driving rig. So it can be broken down into smaller network here. So it starts the task starts at task 0 and then continue with unload trucks at active job 10, and then erect crane, install braces, erect pilots, and then finish. So this finish is only for task mobile pile driving rig. So this is example of when you detail out a smaller diagram of master network diagram. So this type of diagram is much more useful, especially to the person involved in mobilization of pile driving rig. So next, we take a look at the relationship between activity, and this slide shows the concurrent activity where you have two activities started concurrently and need to finish in order for the next subsequent activity uh, to commence. So in this example, in the work of pipeline relocation, first you locate and clear the site area, and then you start excavating, And while you're excavating, you can start stringing pipe. And then once everything has been excavated and pipe has been strung, you can lay the pipe and test and then backfill again. So these two activities started concurrently so that you can save time. And the activities is not interdependency, so there's no relation here. There's no relation between these two activities. Next is the benefit of precedence diagram. So we have talked a lot about precedence diagram. Best that we discuss a little bit about the benefit of having this diagram, developing this diagram. So number one is the transfer of information. So uh, planning who do the scheduling, the duration of work, that knows the cost, the resource restraint for the project, can transfer the information into the operation team. So the operation team can plan out their actual work and then realize the activity up until the completion. So this having this precedence diagram will save you a lot of time having to explain the work activity to your operation team. Second is to ensure smooth job transition. There will be job transition between, let's say, a piling activity and to the substructure reinforced concrete team activity. So the transition will be smooth. For example, the substructure team would know when the pile driving work could be completed, when they can start excavate and start pile cutting. So the project will be you will avoid any unwanted delay as uh, all operational team are aware on the sequence of work. And then the thirdly is to provide smooth coordination between different part of project team. It is similar to previous one. Once you have a smooth transition, so the coordination will be smooth between the project team. And this one we covered for the suppliers. So the suppliers know uh, when to supply the material, but usually this is covered by site agent. Site agent usually do the procurement or ordering of material to site. So the person in charge for ensuring there's no discontinuity between the supply of materials would have a better knowledge on when to uh, deliver the material for construction, and this is beneficial especially for the site having very small spaces to store construction material. And lastly, provide detailed analysis. You want to provide detailed analysis on the project planning. So once you have come up with your precedence diagram, you can brainstorming and further detail out this. You can check back. Should there be any any missing tasks or ways to optimize your project? Maybe you can start tasks concurrently. So next we will talk about project scheduling.